Hey everybody, HomeSliceHenry here, and today's video is going to be a fun one. In today's video, we're taking a look at a Shadow Shiny Ursaluna with its brand new fast move of Smackdown, terrorizing flying types in the Sunshine Cup. Now these battles were submitted to the channel by a member of the community, Blazmo, so many thanks for the battle submission. Now Blazmo is running an incredibly cool team, the Shadow Shiny Ursaluna as the lead, Gogoat as the safe switch, which could possibly be the most underrated Pokemon in this entire format, and as the closer, the ever-scary Dartrix. So without further ado, let's hop into the matches, and in game number 1, we're off to a terrible start leading Shadow Shiny Ursaluna into Toadscruel. Safe switch into Gogoat is going to be answered with the Ice-type Piloswine, but Piloswine will still be taking big super effective damage from a Leaf Blade. The shield comes out from Piloswine farming up, trying to CMP tie the Gogoat, but Gogoat is not going to fall for it. Gogoat looked like it was shaking its head no there, agreeing with me for a second. Gogoat puts up the shield, returns fire with the Leaf Blade, and forces the final shield. Piloswine does not get the farm down. Look at Gogoat go. Gogoat makes a third Leaf Blade, KOing Piloswine and winning switch advantage. Back in comes Toadscruel just to get annihilated by Dartrix. Opponent sees the writing on the wall and concedes the match. Hopping into the next match, leading Shadow Shiny Ursaluna into Credilli. Not the greatest lead for this team to see. Opponent safe switches into Oranguru, and Oranguru is quite scary for this team. Ursaluna gonna stay on the field, firing off Ice Punch. Ice Punch is gonna land, and that does some pretty massive damage. Ursaluna goes for the catch onto Dartrix. Tell me this is the Trailblaze, and it is. What a catch, double resisted. Oranguru in absolute shambles. Oranguru can now fire off a boosted Brutal Swing, but Dartrix is so healthy that it just simply does not care. Dartrix gets a nasty farm down, exiting with a ton of energy. And you could be forgiven for thinking this is a Master League battle, because there is not only a Shadow Shiny Ursaluna, but there's also a Shadow Rhyperior. Rhyperior is running Smackdown. Smackdowns do not KO the Dartrix until it forces both shields. And now in comes Gogoat. Gogoat hits the field, opponent does not want to play anymore, and they will resign the match. Shadow Shiny Ursaluna into Furret in the next match. This is not a great matchup for the Ursaluna. Ursaluna gonna stay on the field to start though, farming up some energy, safe switching into Gogoat, and the opponent is gonna be sending in Toucannon. Toucannon will take big super effective damage from Rock Slide. The shield comes up from Toucannon. Toucannon over farming massively, not gonna CMP tie to the Rock Slide, instead gonna fire off the Drill Peck 2 turns beforehand. Drill Peck will take the KO. Back in comes Ursaluna. Ursaluna is hoping to get a 1 shield farm down. Drill Peck would be devastating damage. Even the Pecks are deleting Ursaluna. Ursaluna misses the farm down by just a couple HP, and that's going to cost Ursaluna its final shield. Furret does have a Swift loaded. Dartrix tries for the catch, does not get it, and the opponent reveals their final Pokemon to be Swampert. If this was even shields, this would be game over, but the opponent is at a shield advantage, so they can shield up the Seed Bomb. They're guaranteed to land a Sludge, and Sludge will be critical damage onto the Dartrix. Dartrix beats Furret by simply just outbulking it. It can survive Swift after Swift, but after the Sludge damage lands, suddenly the path is a lot less clear, because Furret should be able to overfarm, take the knockout with the Swift, and Ursaluna is going to have to KO with no fast moves, just the loaded Trailblaze. Ursaluna actually goes for the Ice Punch. I believe Ice Punch will do incrementally less. Ice Punch lands, Furret survives. I think with Trailblaze that may have been a knockout. It's very, very close, but unfortunately Ursaluna gets KO'd by the Brick Break, and that game will end in defeat. Hopping into the next match, leading Shadow Ursaluna into Shadow Talonflame, the Dream lead. Opponent stays in. Oh, Trader, you don't want to do that. They safe switch into Clodsire, and this is where things get tricky. So far, the 2 grass types in the back have nowhere to go. There's a Clodsire and there's a Talonflame, both bad matchups. So Ursaluna Ice Punches and then sends in Dartrix to get shredded by a Stone Edge. Stone Edge lands, that is devastating damage for Dartrix, and the Clodsire is so far ahead that it's already at Stone Edge number 2. Dartrix puts up the shield, heavily invested in maintaining switch advantage. Opponent tries for a Seed Bomb catch, but they're unsuccessful as Dartrix reacts in time to Brave Bird and take the KO. Unfortunately, Clodsire still alive, but not able to get the farm down before Dartrix makes the Seed Bomb. Seed Bomb does get the shield, in comes Ursaluna. Smackdowns are going to be resisted, but Ursaluna probably just gets knocked out by the Earthquake. Earthquake lands, down goes Ursaluna. The question is, can Gogoat potentially get a Vine Whip down? In comes Gogoat. This would be a monster farm down, and the opponent clearly had a Quagsire in the back as they immediately concede the match. We've got a battle of glass cannons in the next match, Shadow Ursaluna into Shadow Blaziken. Ember won't do a lot of damage here, but the Aura Spheres will guarantee a shield. Did the opponent throw an alignment there? Because if they did, then Ursaluna may be able to farm down. Ursaluna decides not to risk it. I think maybe the Smackdown would have KO'd, but it would have been very close. Ursaluna takes the knockout. In comes Shadow Ursa Ring. Oh my goodness. Now this is a matchup I never thought that I would see in this meta. Ursaluna versus Ursa Ring. Ursaluna not going to go for the Trailblaze, instead going for the Ice Punch. I was expecting Ursaluna to maybe try and ramp up, but Ursaluna gets the shield, sends in Go-Goat, and the opponent responds with Shadow Toucannon. Shadow Toucannon unfortunately should be just sweeping this game from here on out. Leaf Blade bait gets no shielded. That was enough for the Rock Slide. Oh my goodness, that was the win con, but the opponent just had no care in the world, and this game is just a full Shadow Toucannon sweep. The Shadow Toucannon has back-to-back charge stacks loaded. In comes the Ursaluna. The Smackdown's never going to go through. They take the knockout with the Drill Pack, and they're going to get to Beak Blast the Dartrix. And unfortunately, even all that energy on the Ursa Ring, the opponent won't even need it, because Beak Blast is a one-hit KO, and down goes Dartrix. We've got a battle of normal types in the next match. Shadow Ursaluna is once again greeted by Furret. Opponent safe switches into a Fearow trainer. No! Oh my goodness, they didn't know about Smackdown, and that's going to cost them, as Ursaluna is going to get a full farm down. My guess is they're Furret double flying, and so they wanted to try and safe switch to bait out a flying counter, not realizing that Ursaluna has a new move. It gets Smackdown. Ursaluna fires off the Ice Punch, and now in comes Dartrix. Dartrix is never going to be shielding because it's highly likely to be Shadow Toucannon in the back. Swift will connect, and there it is, right on cue. In comes Shadow Toucannon. Shadow Toucannon going to be immediately baited by the Seed Bomb. Even just the Seed Bomb landing will do some pretty sizable damage, but Toucannon, it's so deadly when it gets these farm downs. Toucannon no shields the Seed Bomb, will get the full farm down and exit absolutely loaded. In comes Ursaluna. Ursaluna's shield comes up, needing to get as much Smackdown damage as possible. Drill Pack will be shielded, getting the farm down. No damage registration error for the opponent. And now Furret will be hit with the Ice Punch. Ice Punch is guaranteed to force a shield, and then Go-Goat is just simply too healthy. In comes the Goat. Opponent sees the writing on the wall and concedes the match. Shadow Ursaluna into Shadow Abomasnow in the next match. This will be a whole lot of super effective damage. These Smackdowns are devastating, but so are the Powder Snows. Abomasnow, it looks like, will barely survive the next Smackdown. It's going to be very, very close. They switch out. They're going to save switch into an Ember Blaziken, and Blaziken will immediately be chipped with Ice Punch. Ember Blaziken going to be answered with Dartrix. Dartrix should hopefully be able to shield a Blast Burn and get a farm down. Dartrix shields. It's an Aura Sphere bait. Will the opponent get to another Aura Sphere? It's going to be close, and they do just make the Aura Sphere. Thankfully, this is only an Aura Sphere. It's not a Blast Burn. It is going to be resisted, but Blaziken is so scary that even resisted damage will add up. Back in comes Abomasnow. Abomasnow gets knocked out by the Seed Bomb in the back. They have Fearow. Fearow does not make the charge stack before the last second Brave Bird. Brave Bird into the Fearow, takes the one-hit knockout, a miscount from the opponent, and that's going to cost them as they get KO'd. Great lead in the next match. Shadow Shiny Ursaluna into Fearow. Fearow going to be pivoting out of the matchup, sending in Lopunny. And oh no, this Lopunny is probably going to sweep, because Lopunny learns an ice move, Triple Axle. That's double super effective damage onto the Dartrix. Dartrix not going to bait, going to full send a Brave Bird. This is the hope in this game. Will the Brave Bird connect? It does! Lopunny tries to call the Seed Bomb bait. They get shredded by a Brave Bird, and that is an incredible swing of momentum. Fearow gets energy, but with switch advantage maintained, it's going to be Ursaluna that gets brought in. Opponent retreats into Furret as their final Pokemon. The Ice Punch will be able to do some nice damage on Furret, but it does desync the switch timers, and that's always a little bit of a worry. However, Go-Go does have the ability to hit for some nice damage into Fearow. Furret goes for the Brick Break. Brick Break does do less damage, but the advantage of Brick Break is you now apply a debuff to make an easier farm down for the Fearow. Leaf Blade will be undercharged. Furret will fire off the Swift, and I think you just have to save 2 shields for the Ursaluna. Oh, the shield comes up! If Ursaluna had 2 shields to hide behind, it was probably smacking everything down. But now with only 1 shield in play, this could get a little bit tricky. In comes Ursaluna. Fearow firing off its Drill Peck. Shield comes up, but Fearow has enough residual energy that it should make another Drill Peck. Fearow does get there, not quite able to get that farm down, and this is going to be close. Vine Whip versus Peck. Super effective versus resisted damage. Go-Goat might actually be the GOAT as it takes the win with 1 HP remaining. Very bad lead in the next match. Shadow Ursaluna into Vigoroth. Vigoroth, unfortunately, is a pretty big problem for Ursaluna, but Go-Goat, I imagine, is actually going to have a very good matchup here. Vigoroth unfortunately really suffers from the counter nerf. 10-turn pacing is really nice, and unfortunately it no longer has it. Vigoroth goes for a Brick Break. Now the opponent sends in Obstagoon. Are they running triple counter? This trainer misses the good old days when we could run triple counter in the Go Battle League, and they might be bringing it back. Obstagoon will fire off a Night Slash. This Go-Goat has been debuffed. Night Slash does take the knockout, and in comes Ursaluna. Unfortunately, if this is triple counter, then Ursaluna has basically no play. Dartrix is going to have to pull off the impossible. It's Cross Chop as well. That takes the knockout. In comes Dartrix. Dartrix needs the farm down. It's not going to get there. 1 HP and an Obstagoon, and everything going right for the opponent. Night Slash is going to land. In comes Vigoroth. Vigoroth immediately hit with the Seed Bomb. The only win con at this point would be like a Quagsire in the back, but hold up. The opponent shielding means there might actually be a Quagsire in the back. The Seed Bomb comes out, the double shield, and Quagsire in the back is looking very likely. Dartrix, Body Slam will do a lot of damage. Dartrix no shields and calls a Brick Break. Oh my goodness, Dartrix gets the full farm down. That was such a risky no shield, but it pays off as it's Shadow Quagsire in the back. Seed Bomb will hit for double super effective damage onto the Quagsire, and there's another Seed Bomb locked and loaded. Dartrix with the 0 bubble. I don't know how that game ended up being a win. Triple strong into Ursaluna, but my goodness, Dartrix took the win. Dream lead in the next match, Shadow Shiny Ursaluna into Talonflame. Talonflame staying in. People just don't know about SmackDown. They save switch into Dunsparce, but Dunsparce, I mean, it can't really do anything in this matchup. Rollout is resisted. Ursaluna fires off the Ice Punch, and in comes Go-Goat. And this is just so awful for the opponent. Go-Goat will get to massively overfarm in this matchup. Go-Goat catching the Drill Run as well. And Go-Goat absolutely making the right play. Go-Goat can probably even throw like 4 Vine Whips and the move, because Go-Goat just really wants to ensure that it can guaranteed make a Rock Slide against the Talonflame, but no! Talonflame gets the catch, sneaking the Incinerate. Go-Goat will get the Rock Slide, but oh my goodness, throwing 5 in the move instead of 4 allowed the opponent the ability to switch out, and unfortunately, energy did get wasted. So the opponent still has that Dunsparce, and the Dunsparce does have a decent amount of HP. They send in Furret as their final Pokemon, and Furret will be answered with the Dartrix. Ursaluna still being very healthy is a big help, because I imagine that's not in Drill Run range quite yet. In comes the Dunsparce. Dunsparce fires off the Rock Slide, and this is a pretty easy shield for Dartrix. Dunsparce went for a Drill Run anticipating a catch, but Dartrix ends up shielding it nevertheless. Back in comes Furret, not going to go for the Trailblaze. I don't know if Trailblaze has been clicked so far in these battles, but Trailblaze I think could have been pretty nice here, just trying to ramp up the damage, but Ursaluna is going to let it go, and then just trust in Dartrix to close out the game, because Dartrix has so much loaded energy. Seed Bomb wouldn't quite knock out from this health range, so Dartrix is going to be full, sending the Brave Bird. Brave Bird does get shielded, but Dartrix will make it to Brave Bird number 2 to secure the win. Dartrix putting on a bit of a show, knockout after knockout, and that's a good game. Hopping into the next match, Shadow Ursaluna into Shadow Abomasnow. We've seen this matchup, and this matchup goes very quickly. Look at the super effective damage. Opponent pivots out, and they send in Lopunny. Lopunny, definitely not what you're hoping to see with this team. This team managed to survive Lopunny once, but Lopunny has damage for everything. Dartrix farming up, gonna go for the Brave Bird. Dartrix really has to hope that the Brave Bird does connect, and it does. Down goes Lopunny. That is incredible news. If the opponent shielded the Lopunny, then Lopunny could have boosted up and made life very uncomfortable. But back in comes the Abomasnow. It does get a pretty healthy farm down. In comes Ursaluna, and the opponent did throw on alignment. Ursaluna shielding up. The Smackdown damage is about to register. In the back is a Water Gun Whiscash, and oh no, it just gets absolutely crushed by Go-Goat. I'm surprised the opponent has not top lefted yet. There is just no hope for them in this game. They go for the Scald Vine Whip, just absolutely deleting this Whiscash. Whiscash gonna get knocked out by the Leaf Blade. Whiscash gonna be no shielding. They're leaving it all up to Abomasnow. But unfortunately for them, Abomasnow just can't get the farm down before Go-Goat makes 2 Leaf Blades. And this should burn the switch clock and then allow a switch back into the Ursaluna. Leaf Blade is gonna land. In comes Ursaluna. The opponent no shielded, knowing the Ursaluna had a charge attack loaded. But Ursaluna can shield up the Weather Ball. Smackdown takes the knockout and secures the win. Hopping to the final match, Shadow Ursaluna into Magcargo, the dream lead. Magcargo gonna get absolutely shredded. Opponent safe switches into Piloswine. And unfortunately, Piloswine is another tough Pokemon for this team to deal with. I imagine Ice Punch and then sending in Go-Goat. Go-Goat, unfortunately, immediately under threat from Icicle Spear. This will hit for some big damage. The no shield from Go-Goat, barely able to hang on. And Go-Goat makes the last second Leaf Blade. If the opponent wants Switch Advantage, they will be able to take it. The opponent, by the way, completely disrespecting Quagsire with this team of Magcargo and Piloswine. Back in comes Ursaluna. Ursaluna has to shield up the Icicle Spear, but losing Switch Advantage to a Magcargo is very bad. In the back is Abomasnow, and unfortunately there's just no way to win this game. As in comes Magcargo. It is on Ember Magcargo, which I think is not the moveset you want to run, but Ember Magcargo will still be able to take this win, as the opponent was triple strong into the Dartrix. Yo, Dartrix going for a bad manners Brave Bird into the Magcargo. Magcargo's Ember actually does damage, and unfortunately that will be a loss. Oh, it looks like we do have one final game. I was mistaken. I thought that was the final game, but this will be the final game. Shadow Ursaluna into Shadow Blaziken. This is the Ember Blaziken. Blaziken gonna throw on good charge stack timing, unlike the previous Blaziken, and the shield comes up. The good charge stack timing means that they could actually make it to a second charge stack, but no, they pivot out into Gligar. Ice Punch will be double super effective. Gligar doesn't respect it. That's a full one-shot, and they reveal their final Pokemon is Bullet Seed Credilli. Very nice bank of energy on Ursaluna, and then a catch onto the Go-Goat, able to successfully catch a Grass Knot. And that should basically just be game over for the opponent. Go-Goat launching Leaf Blades at Credilli. Credilli now gets to connect with a Rock Tomb, but not having that acid fast move pressure is so bad in this matchup. Back in comes the Blaziken. Blaziken looking for an Ember down. Go-Goat able to make a last second Leaf Blade. Leaf Blade gets the shield. In comes Ursaluna. Ursaluna just can't get the farm down, as Blaziken will make the last second Aura Sphere. Shield comes up from the Ursaluna. Will we see the Trailblaze? Yes, we do. It's Trailblaze time. Let's go. Ursaluna ramping up its smackdown damage. Can't quite get the farm down, but the damage is done. Dartrix does not get one shot by a Rock Tomb. The Credilli is just simply too low. Waited the timer, potentially just to try and get a bad manners catch, but unfortunately the timer was not up. But Dartrix tanks the Rock Tomb, gets the farm down, and that is a good game. All in all, these were some very high octane, entertaining battles, so many thanks for the battle submission. Now, it goes without saying, Shadow Shiny Ursaluna with Smackdown, it's a pick for fun rather than a pick for climbing, but as the Sunshine Cup, it kind of reaches its waning days here. The week is almost over, so I felt like bringing more of a fun showcase would be kind of a good way to close out this week, or at the very least begin to close out this week. The Pokemon that I do want to highlight that I think is really strong was actually Go-Goat from this showcase. Go-Goat, I really feel like proved its worth. Go-Goat is very, very bulky, its pacing is incredibly fast, and being a grass type that has massive super effective damage into the flyers and pretty fast pacing to Rock Slide as well, Go-Goat really surprised me. When I saw this team, I was kind of expecting it was going to be a hard carry by Dartrix, but I really feel like there were multiple games where Go-Goat ended up putting the team on his back. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoy watching content like this, please do consider leaving a like on the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And an extra special thank you as always to our channel members here on YouTube. The support you guys provide is genuinely so appreciated. So thank you guys oh so very much. And until next time, I've been HomeSliceHenry.